at bvmanchale@gmail.com. Thank you.
Dhanyawad Atulji, and welcome all. Today's timeline would be as follows. Our Pracharak for West Coast HSS, Diganji, will introduce our first speaker, Manya Mohiniji. Then Mohiniji's presentation will be there. After that, I will introduce our next esteemed speaker, Aman Sinhaji. And then Aman Sinhaji will present. And then we'll have Q&A session. And everybody is requested to post their questions in the chat box and address to the speaker you would like to ask a question to. And our team will ask the questions to the respective speakers. And then we'll have vote of thanks, and then we'll conclude the program. With this, I would like to request Diganji to introduce our first esteemed speaker.
Namaste, everyone. It's a great honor to introduce Sri Mohini Mohan Mishra ji. Mohini ji, he is known. So Mohini Mohan Mishra ji did his education in agriculture. He is a MSc Agriculture gold medalist, and his research project was, like one of the best in his times, and his professor actually wanted to pursue PhD and said, "I will be giving you PhD in 1 year." But he is so good. His research was so good. So he, but instead decided to go as a pracharak. He left and then became a pracharak after graduation. And while being a pracharak, he also did his LLB and continued as a Sangha pracharak. Then he was sent to the Bharatiya Kisan Sangha. He worked closely with Manya Dattopanda Thengdiji under his guidance. So he was able to guide the farmers, farming organizations, farm-related policies all around. In fact, he has been a member of the Standing Committee on Agriculture of the Indian Parliament. Various committees he has been, and he has been working as a Kisan Sangha leader, as a All India Secretary of Bharatiya Kisan Sangha. And in 2006, he was invited by US Department of 2016. He was invited to US by US Department of Agriculture, and as a delegation from Bharatiya Kisan Sangha. And he came to Ames, Iowa to meet the farmers, farm producers, the tool makers, the researchers, and also he was in Washington, DC to talk with the lawmakers. In that trip, he was there in LA, and he spoke to us regarding the farm distress over there in Bharatiya Vichar Mancha, like we in the introduction said. And back in Bharat, he has been guiding the farmers organization, farmers to create their own seeds, and have been giving lectures in the agricultural universities to create an environment of organic farming framework so that they can make organic seeds, organic produce, and sell them and create organic markets around the world, a different chain of marketing system. So he has been invited to various meetings, including a lot of debates. We might be seeing him in the national debates regarding the farm bill, farmer distress, and so on. So we are really fortunate to have you, Mohiniji, amongst us. We would like to listen to you, and there are several questions. I'm sure you'll be able to answer them to our satisfaction. And welcome again, Mohiniji. Namaste.
Namaste. Thanking everybody for giving me a scope to talk to you people from within and outside our country. I am really very much thankful to organizers also from LA. Actually, when nowadays it is much discussion is going on around within our country, outside our country, about the 3 farm bills that government have been brought and passed in the parliament in September. Actually, these bills are in the form of ordinances. They came in June 5th June. And after they came into the limelight, our team sat together. We discussed about all the clauses of these ordinances, and we could find that these ordinances may come in the next parliament. We hopefully, because the government is in a hurry to open the agricultural markets. So we decided to give some proposals to government for some corrections, that when it will become in the parliament, let there may be some corrections within these bills. Not only proposals, around 22,000 resolutions from different village committees of Bharatiya Kisan Sangha. We have village committees around 80,000 villages, active village committees in our country, and we are working in around 1 lakh villages of our country. And we send these resolutions from 22,000 village committees, because it was a pandemic and a farmers community, as we know, they don't have the technical support still today within themselves, feasible for themselves. So we are possibly send 22,000 resolutions from village committees to Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Agriculture Minister for some corrections, and around more than 400 plus MPs we reach them out in their own areas, and we persuaded them that whenever the bills will come, please help us to have some corrections in these directions. Also, we have tried to reach the government agencies through collectors of around 450 districts of our country. Like that, we have proposed some corrections. These bills were very long awaited. We are fighting for these bills since 2000s, and that the agricultural market should open for farmers, because in India, as we know, there are 127 agroclimatic zones are there. Around 46,000 types of crops are under cultivation in our country, and 85% farmers are small farmers. They don't have much surplus grain or food crops to sold in the mandis like that. So what we approach, that when any trader will come, there are 3 bills we know: one Essential Commodity Act Amendment Bill, one Contract Bill, and one Traders Facilitation Bill. What was our position about the corrections? That when farmers the traders will reach out to the farmers in the nook and corner of the country, they are small farmers, they cannot bargain. So the identification the traders, because it's a very much open market, and anything can happen at any moment in any village when the traders will purchase the produce. So we argued before the government agencies and government that let there be a government portal with the registration of the farmer traders, so that farmer will not be in confusion state and he can sell his produce to the trader. Second part was the payment aspect. So what happens in India, because these farmers are very small farmers and they cannot deal with the traders directly, because the traders may be a big one. Big companies may come, MNC may come. We don't have any objection for any trader to come to purchase their produce. But there must be a bank guarantee of this trader. So if anybody want to fled away without payment, the bank may pay the farmers about their dues, like that. And the third one was today also in these acts, 3 acts, government has been directed that farmers may go to the sub-collector to deal with these litigations about all the dealings. So what we are asking to government, that there must be a farmers court, like consumer court, like that. And it may take time. We approach the government, it may take time, but it should have been initiated just now, so that consumer court and they can decide about in favor of farmers, or the litigations can be resolved within the district of the farmers. That will be much more easier for the farmers to get their justice. And the fourth one was the major one we wanted, that let government enact another law, that MSP be the best price of this crop. Of course, there are only 23 crops that has been declared under MSP, and MSP is a regime is enacted within the APMC Act, and APMC Act is under the state governments. So what we are projecting, what we are talking with the government, that these acts, the new act must be within the coordination with the state governments, because with the, what are our logic, mandis in our country is not yet paying the MSP to the farmers till date. So within mandi and outside mandi, the farmers' payment must be secure. So government, let the government enact another act with coordination with the state governments, and that within mandi and outside the mandi, there's the best price would be MSP. No purchase below the price of MSP to secure the farmers' payment and to put the traders under a pressure that they should not buy, they should not purchase, they should not procure in a very low price from the farmers. That was our argument. And the fourth one is in contract farming. It's a very good contract farming law for the first time in our country, that no land will be under contract. No land should be under the contract. So it is a very much better contract bill, contract act. But there is a small minor cosmetic operation required in that act. That was the inputs the contractor provide to the farmers. And farmers don't know what is the features of the inputs, what is the price and availability. Governments put all the price, features and availability of these inputs within a portal. These are the small suggestions we put forth before the government. I don't know why government did not react immediately, because it has been passed from June to September. It is a long time for the government to react. No reaction we got from the farmer, from the government side. And after June, after September also, after passing the bill also, we reacted to these acts that there is no correction. Only one minor correction was there about the definition of the farmers. We agreed, we proposed, and the government agreed with that, and we corrected. That is welcome step by the government. What is the worrisome to if government, we are very much worried about that. Government is waiting. Should we take stones in our hands? 22,000 villages proposed government some minor corrections. We don't want to repeal all these acts. These acts in favor of the farmers only throughout the country. Small farmers are not going to mandis. So outside mandi is required. And many options we expected more options from the government. There are a budget allocation of 2,000 crore corpus fund in the 2018 and 2019 budget for the improvement of 22,000 Gramin hearts in our country. It was a budget allocation, and government did not move in that direction, because that is a better option for the farmers to sell their produce in their vicinity and take their price immediately after the selling of their produce. We know the weekly hearts are there in our country, and 22,000 Gramin hearts were earmarked, and the Honorable Finance Minister, late Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has been allocated 2,000 crore corpus fund for that, but the government did not look into that. So another question is that there are 2/5 farmers are tribal farmers. Tribal farmers collect and produce very high value products, but they are selling in a very minimal price. And another option for tribal produce also, we need a chain of malls, tribal malls throughout the country, so that they will get the better, tribal farmers will get the better price, and traders can pack it, and the consumers will get a pure organic Ayurvedic tribal products in a better way. And another way is that in my introduction, Digant told that we are working for organic farming. We have started from farmers to hotels, or organic hotels, or we have started through different organizations, to different affiliates. And government must, another option we want, that the mandis or the e-nam all the marketing options, organic corner must be there. So Mandi should be run within some correction, that there should not be any exploitation for the farming community within the mandis. Outside Mandi, government have enacted these acts. We welcome that. It's a better act with some corrections. And tribal mall chain must be there. Private players should enter into that. And organic corner must be there, and 22,000 Gramin huts must be there. So these are the all we expect from the government to react in these directions, to act in the direction. This is a sensitive pro-farmer government, and we know that. But this government could have been took a more better step towards the improving the condition of the farmers, poor farmers of our country. And because farmers, why should farmer every time come to an agitation to approach the government? This is a sense. This is not a insensitive government like Congress or communist government. They did nothing, and you tried to do something. If this government tried to do some many things for the farming community, this is a very sensitive government for the farmers and laborers also. So they could have been taken in a better way. They could have reacted to our suggestions since last 4-5 months, and what they are waiting, I don't know. So this is the issue, and some farmers of the entire farming community of Punjab and Haryana, Western UP, they are sitting in the border of Delhi. Of course, they have some issues with them. They have some local issues. The local leaders are gathered there with very small penetration towards organizational work. And they did a call for Bharat Bandh. We don't support that because they don't have any control with other people say entering into the agitation forum. Political people enter, and some unwanted people also entered into the agitation. We objected to that. We are just pressurizing them not to go for a violent, and there should not be any standpoint. There must be some resolution. If government going 2-3 steps towards them, they must move towards the government, have a resolution, have a solution, and go back to Chandigarh for the resolution. Because these farmers, they have some issues, and that issues is within the state only. These acts are for the entire country. These acts for the entire farming community, small farmers, tribal farmers, organic farmers, ginger farmers, banana farmers, coconut farmers. 46,000 types of crops are under cultivation. And these acts are very welcomed acts with some minor corrections as we suggested. And it should not be repealed. We are repeatedly telling, and we are trying to convince those farmer leaders also, don't repeal it. It is for the country, not for Punjab, Haryana, or Western UP farmers only. You have some issues, you go to Chandigarh and sit there and discuss with the state government and central government, have a solution. But we have a very big question before the government, because Aman Sinhaji is here. He can communicate to the government agencies. Why government did not react to our suggestions? We are still under question. We are searching for that. It could have been solved before all the station came to the forum of the Delhi border. So government didn't react, and if somebody is doing something notorious, if doing something semi-violent, then only government should look into that. Is that a reaction of the sensitive government? So that is our issue, and we are still under discussion with different agencies, with the farm leaders and government agencies also. Let us have a resolution. Farmers' agitation is not new in our country. Farmers' agitation is not once for all in our country. Beforehand, we are fighting for many issues, and in future also we will fight for many issues. There should not be a standstill position as it has been here, and there is a confusion between the farm leaders sitting there. There is a confusion about their demands. What is your demand? Nobody knows. What is the to whom will the government deal? There is a confusion. So this confusion should be clear. Rightfully, government is taking some proactive steps towards the resolutions, but government could have been taken a better step when we started our agitation. Nowadays, we are active in states only, where 532 lakh ton paddy has been procured with MSP, with correct, with under pressure, all the traders are purchasing, and we are agitating all the paddy growing states from Assam to Kerala. That so that these acts may be implemented in a proper line, and let farmers should get the proper price. Thanking you. Namaskar. Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad, Mohini ji. Dhanyavad. We'll go to our next esteemed speaker, Aman Sinha ji. He is the senior advocate in the Supreme Court of India and senior leader of Bharatiya Janata Party. Aman Sinha ji he has appeared for so many, successfully appeared for Government of India on so many cases, including very big case of Prabhu Sri Ram Mandir. He has been an accomplished spokesperson for Bharatiya Janata Party and has appeared on various top English and Hindi news networks. He has appeared in more than 3,000 debates and successfully presented his party's case. He has written so many articles and columns within Bharat and outside Bharat with several publications. We would like to invite him to give perspective of Government of India for, as a lawyer, his own interpretation of the farm laws. With this, I would like to welcome Mr. Aman Sinha ji.
Namaskar. Thank you very much, Amit Bhai, and very warm New Year greetings to all my friends who have joined from different parts of the world, especially West Coast, I believe, Amit Bhai, and a lot of other friends I could see in participants also, West Coast, East Coast. Even in India, it's early Monday morning, but large number of friends have joined. And I wish all of you a very good health and happiness in the year 2021. Thank you very much, Mohini Mohan Mishra ji, for his opening remarks and his very valuable suggestions. I can assure him that government will certainly has till this point in time also considered all the valuable suggestions. I will respond to it in my individual capacity as a senior advocate. But let me start off with my opening remarks. And I would like to say that I'm sure you have all heard from your school days this phrase that Bharat ek krishi pradhan desh hai, and which means India is an agrarian country. Now, this is absolutely true, and we are proud of it. But the point to ponder here is why entire agriculture sector and farmers, despite toiling hard, have led lives of distress and low incomes for their diligent efforts, and that too for such a long period of time. Now, for last 70 years, farmers were kept in this situation, fed many slogans and promises, but no political party or leader did anything substantial for them to increase their incomes and uphold their dignity. Through years of farmer suicides and distress, all that was done was an occasional scam-ridden loan waiver scheme or some empty slogans. In 1947, when India became independent, agriculture contributed 50% to national income, but employed more than 70% of our workforce. Now, as of 2019-2020 today, agriculture now contributes only 16.5% to national income, but it still employs more than 42% of the workforce. And therefore, it's a compelling case for increasing farmers' income. Now, our agriculture has been characterized by issues such as fragmentation due to small holding sizes, weather dependence, production uncertainties, huge wastage, and market unpredictability. This makes agriculture a risky business and inefficient with respect to both input and output management. These challenges needed to be addressed by way of realizing higher productivity, cost-effective production, and efficient monetization of produce to increase farmers' income. But as I mentioned to you, for past 7 decades, generations of farmers and their hard work were always at the mercy of certain politicians, political parties, traders, middlemen. The first government to take on the difficult but important challenge of transforming farmers' lives and securing their future was the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. For the first time, it is Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji who envisioned doubling of farmers' income. In fact, nobody even attempted it or said this in past. And the data speaks for itself that our farmers' incomes, they need to be enhanced greatly. And in fact, incomes of all different classes, whether uh, who are part of our working force, they have been constantly increasing, but farmers' incomes, they have not increased in that same relative capacity. Now, it is indeed quite unfortunate that when our Prime Minister has demonstrated the will to implement these long pending transformative reforms, opposition parties are resorting to misinformation, fear mongering, uh, just in order to score some political points. In fact, the Narendra Modi government, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's government, has changed the ministry's mandate, the primary mandate from agriculture to farmers' welfare. Several landmark decisions like implementation of Swaminathan Committee recommendation regarding fixing MSP at least 50% profits and cost of production, increasing the agri budget by more than 11 times in the past 10 years. So the budget which was allocated during the UPA time, it has been increased by a whopping 11 times. And establishing ENAM mandis, agriculture infrastructure fund of rupees 1 lakh crore, scheme of formation of 10,000 FPOs, etc. And large measures have been rolled out systematically in order to change the farmer lives and their you know the agriculture has been modernized to a great extent. And there are large welfare schemes such as Kisan Soil Card, Kisan Credit Card, PM Fasal Bima Yojana, PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, and they are in fact undoubtedly the biggest farmer welfare schemes anywhere in the world in terms of the number of farmers that they address these schemes to. The new farm bills reform and expand agricultural markets. More the markets, better for the farmers. The expansion of markets, along with increased investments in food processing, will make farmers independent and will go long way in securing their prosperity and future. It can make Indian farmers supply to all of India and world. India can become food basket of the world. This is the potential that the new farm bills usher in. And these landmark bills, when they were passed on 20th of September, initially ordinances were issued, but thereafter, through the entire parliamentary procedure, these landmark bills were passed on 20th of September. And they create an ecosystem where farmers enjoy the freedom of choice of sale and purchase of farming produce to facilitate remunerative prices to farmers through competitive alternative trading channels. This will promote barrier-free interstate and intrastate trade and commerce of farming produce outside the physical premises of market notified under state agricultural produce marketing legislation. In that way, this will facilitate farmers with more buyers for their produce at their own doorsteps. The focus of this next step of farm bills is in creating good, viable, and large markets for farmers' produce, and that will reward their hard work of restricting them to mandis will not really serve any purpose, and we have seen the results in past 70 years. These farm bills also lay a robust and sound legal framework for fair and transparent farming agreements between farmers and sponsors. The framework is going to greatly facilitate certainty in quantity and price, adoption of quality and grading standards, linkage of farming agreements with insurance and credit instruments to transfer the risk of market unpredictability from the farmer to the sponsor, and also enable the farmer to access modern technology and better inputs. The rise of India and potential rise of Indian farmers is worrying many vested interests which have been there for past 70 years. In fact, they are the ones who have thrived on misery of our farmers. And Indian several political leaders, for their own vested interests, have jumped into this debate. And all leaders who are doing this, they are only doing this with a view to oppose the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, and to prevent the rise of India and Indian farmers. All of them have a zero track record, in fact, of doing anything for farmers in distress in the last many decades when they enjoyed power. Now, many of these leaders have all recognized the need for agriculture market reforms repeatedly, but have never done it because of their own vested interests, as I mentioned. And this is the problem of dynastic parties that oppose the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And they are always vulnerable to pressure from such vested interests. The future of Atmanirbhar Bharat will be built on Atmanirbhar Kisan, in my opinion, which is a commitment of the government, of the central government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And Atmanirbhar Kisan will live a life of dignity where his toil and hard work will be justly rewarded always. Now, very clearly, these laws are long overdue, farming reforms for welfare of the farmer. That is why it is noteworthy to mention that predominant majority of farmers have not protested anywhere except for a group of farmers from certain states. They are all in support of new farm laws and therefore have not joined these agitations. On the contrary, Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar ji has met hundreds of farmers' confederations who have openly supported these new farm laws. And I believe my friend Mohini Mohan Mishra ji, in his opening remarks, would also acknowledge that this is a vast step forward, although he has several other suggestions to make, which government, I'm sure, is considering. But there is no doubt about the fact that these are progressive, long overdue reforms. Now, certain group of farmers, predominantly from state of Punjab and Haryana, are protesting, and it is certainly not. There are no all India protests or farmers everywhere. The silent and predominant majority are entirely satisfied with the new farm bills. They absolutely acknowledge and appreciate that these farm bills are in interest and for welfare of the farmers. Now, the states of Punjab and Haryana they have some of the best road and irrigation networks in the country. And even today, fertilizer and electricity subsidies at over 13,000 crore a year. Each farming household in the states, they get about 1,20,000 crore of subsidies, apart from what FCI spends on buying wheat and rice, far in excess of what it needs, or the interest subvention by the central government, or even the real cost of water use for farming. About 70% of Punjab's wheat output is procured by government agencies, and in rice and paddy, it's about 85%. Once we factor in how much crop is consumed, almost all marketable surplus is procured at MSP. And if you contrast this with the fact that just around 10% of UP's wheat is procured at MSP, UP produces double the wheat that Punjab does. And in terms of rice, this is around 24% for the rice. So therefore, as Mohini Mohan Mishra ji was also saying, this is a all India legislation. It is for benefit of farmers all across the country, and it has to be seen in that respect. Now, another important point uh, pertaining to this is that Punjab's growth rate in state agri GDP has been rapidly slowing, and in fact, earlier agriculture growth rate of Punjab was about 5.7% annually, which compared to all, this is 71 to 1986, this span of 15 years, compared to all India average of 2.3%. But from 2004 to this point in time, the average agricultural growth rate in Punjab has become about 1.9% versus the all India average of 3.5%. So earlier, Punjab's growth rate was double the national average, and today it has halved from other states. So what are the reasons behind it? The reason is very clear that while MSP for wheat and rice can rise just so much given the global prices, our MSP in fact are already higher than many a times the global prices, as well as the impact on the central budget. Other crops and livestock are yielding significantly higher returns. Another point to be noted is that significant environment and ecological concerns, as well-known damage which is caused, especially in these states due to soil damage which is caused due to growing water guzzling crops, and most of the land in the states are overexploited. There is overuse of urea and fertilizers which are in full abundance now. Nowadays, you do not see of any agitations for fertilizers or urea. So where the same kind of money, especially guaranteed offtake by FCI and other procurement agencies, spent in states like Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal would in fact transform their economies. It would also reduce India's water consumption, since some of these states also require a lot less water for surface irrigation for the same crop. And water is it's an important issue because the water table in Punjab and Haryana has been consistently going down. Now, when all this is being done by farm bills passed on 20th of September, the opposition has resorted to a malicious misinformation campaign suggesting that bills intend to remove MSP, take away lands of farmers, and make them slaves to corporations. Certainly, there is no any basis to it. There is not a single provision of law of these three statutes which have been pointed out even by those who are agitating, which reflect or which in any way allude to this. So nothing could be farther from this truth. Now, Prime Minister and Agriculture Minister, excuse me, they have time and again clarified several times that the fixed MSP and government purchase at MSP will continue, and that farm bills are not related to the MSP. In fact, MSP for paddy has gone up 2.4 times, and for wheat it has gone up 1.7 times in past 5 years, during the office of this government, when this government has been in office. These the pieces of legislation are only to protect farmers' interests. In fact, farmers will get better prices as no taxes will be levied on trade of agriculture produce in the trade area as defined in the bills. Also, the mandis established under APMC Acts of states will continue to work on these bills. And these bills, in fact, do not at all override or change the APMC Act. The earlier position stays as it is. And therefore, there is no any cause of concern that the earlier position is going to change. It only provides additional avenues to our farmers. Now, in order to ensure that our farmers are not shortchanged or cheated by anyone, the bills have several safeguards such as prohibition of sale, lease or mortgage of farmers' land, and farmers' land is also protected against any recovery. Farming agreements cannot be entered into if they are in derogation of rights of the farmer. Farmers will have access to flexible prices subject to a guaranteed price in agreements. The sponsor has to ensure the timely acceptance of delivery and payment of produce to farmers, and farmers' liability is limited to only the advance received and cost inputs provided by the sponsor. And in fact, the present statutes, they envisage that the payments will be made to farmers within a guaranteed period of 3 days. I mean, it has to be made forthwith, but the outer limit is 3 days. Now, if there are any disputes, they are going to be resolved by a conciliation board to be constituted by the SDM, failing which an aggrieved party may approach concerned SDM for settlement of dispute. The SDM can order the recovery of amount in dispute, impose penalties, and also pass an order restraining the trader for the trade and commerce of scheduled farmers' produce for such a period as they deem fit. And the government has said very openly, agriculture minister has also said that we are fully uh, open to establishing kisan courts also. In fact, the appeals could lie there. This was done only in order to ensure that SDM and local authorities who are nearest to farmer who are living in rural areas, they are able to approach them because they are easily accessible, and the issues are resolved by a summary proceeding. But appeals can certainly lie in Kisan courts. There is no difficulty at all. And the government has said time and again, but the difficulty is that those who are agitating, they are not even pointing out what are their specific grievances. And time and again, it has been said that please point out what are the specific clauses under these three new acts where you have some misgivings or some uh, you have some grievance about, but not a single clause till this point in time has been pointed out. And if anything is pointed out, I am sure the government is very willing to consider it and respond to it. And even these suggestions which have been put forward, government is very ready and willing to consider and respond to it very positively. But the fact is that the specific suggestions or requests for amendments are not even discussed. So just making a sweeping statement that bill should be withdrawn without providing a single cogent reason or basis for it, which is there in the bills, then it's very clear that where it comes from, and this has no basis really. Now, these recommendations, in fact, they have been made several times in past, including by Swaminathan Committee, which suggested removal of mandi tax, creation of single market, and facilitating contract farming. And I can say that every major political leader opposing farm market reforms today have proposed it, supported it in the past, and virtually each and every one. I can just briefly point out, but I'm sure all of you know the kind of flip-flops that parties like Congress they have been having. The Congress manifesto in 2019 said the changes in APMC Act, further changes will be made so that all impediments on export and interstate trade of agricultural produce are removed. They also promised to repeal the Essential Commodities Act and establish farmers market where farmers can sell their produce without any controls. Now, certainly, these proposals go much beyond what has been envisaged in the act, and the Congress party is still opposing it. Their manifesto in Punjab Assembly elections too suggested that APMC Act will be further amended so that farmers get access to interstate and international markets. An agricultural production board will be formed, which will be responsible for contract farming and land leasing, and a legislation to regulate farmers' contract to produce, to protect farmers' interests will be enacted. So this is exactly what has been done, and still the Congress party is shamelessly opposing what they had proposed and advocated earlier. We've seen other parties. In fact, the UPA Agriculture Minister, Mr. Sharad Pawar, personally wrote to all chief ministers in August 2010, urging them to implement the reforms on the lines of Model APMC Act 2003. And among other things, the letter written by Sharad Pawar said that, and I'm quoting, the need to amend the present APMC Act on the lines of Model APMC Act 2003 to encourage private sector in providing alternative competitive marketing channels in overall interest of farmers, producers, and consumers cannot be overemphasized. The Patil Committee, which was constituted by UPA government in 2010, submitted in 2000 its report in 2013, and suggested simplification of procedure of contract farming, investment in development of post-harvest infrastructures, barrier-free national markets, waiving of market fee on fruits and vegetables, etc.
Amanji,
What?
Amanji, 1 minute. 1 minute,
Yes,
please. Because
yes,
of the
please.
time restraint. Yeah, 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yes,
Last minute.
Amit.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Last one
Okay,
minute.
okay. So virtually all the parties, they have initially supported this. They have had this in their manifesto, but now they are seeking to oppose this for their own vested political interests. I can say that these new farm bills will bring transformative changes in our agriculture sector and reduce wastage, increase efficiency, unlock value for our farmers, and increase farmer incomes. At the same time, traders and other stakeholders will get the opportunity to get access to better produce, develop additional services that can be useful to local farmers like seed soil testing facilities and cold storage. We must not allow this falsehood and political opportunism to overshadow the key measures and mechanisms enunciated through these landmark reforms, which finally puts our farmers first. The agitation, which is high-pitched agitation in Delhi, is not just based on incorrect perceptions of what the new farm laws will result in, which is, it's a completely incorrect and unfounded perception that there will be abolition of APMC mandis, MSP based procurement, etc., which has been time and again assured by agriculture ministers. Farmers welfare is an article of faith for this government of India led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And please ignore the lies and embrace the truth, because the way to prosperous secure future for farmers of India and India itself are these three new transformational farming reform bills. Thank you very much.
Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad, Amanji.
Amit ji,
Anji.
whatever other questions and specific suggestions which are there, I can respond to it individually. I tried to cover whatever I could in my remarks, and whatever other suggestions or questions are there, I'm glad to respond to it.
Dhanyavad.
Thank you.
Sorry to interject, but we have now Q&A session allotted. So there are lots of questions. So with this,
Sure.
Deepak ji, please take over from here, and we'll have the Q&A session. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Aminji. Thank you to both the speakers. Very informative viewpoints. There are lots of questions. I'll start with the first one, which has come from multiple people. From Vishalji, Anirudhji, and a few others. It's from Mohiniji. It's a long question. I'll try to summarize it. Basically, if Bharatiya Kisan Sangh, BKS, which is Sangh affiliated union, is that not fully convinced about these three bills? And if not, why did BKS not start raising their objections much earlier than versus now? And finally, if BKS would have taken appropriate action, then would that have prevented the anti-India lobby to stage protests against the government of India? Go ahead.
Yes. No, the information is not correct. We have reacted to all these acts before the ordinances has been promulgated, and we suggested all these things, and we have started our, because it was a COVID pandemic, and we are non-political, non-violent organizations. We started our agitation in a different way, and we passed resolution from our village committees and sent to the government for correction. Even we met more 400 plus MPs in their locality to pursue the government that these corrections should be made when the bills will come in the parliament. So we are not silent. We are very much active in these issues, and from the day one, we have educated all the farming. What you are saying, what Amanji also can agree, no farmers are coming to the street except these some small groups from Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, because they are well convinced We are active in social media, we are active in print media, we are active in our networking, that these bills are in favor of farmers with some corrections, and we are putting this correction before the government. We don't know why the government didn't react, and only they came forth after the registration. People came to the border of the Delhi. So because farmers have their own problems, they are engaged in producing the produce and to giving food supply during the pandemic to this entire population. They don't with all restrictions, with all problems. There is a problem in transportation, there is a problem in market access, there is a problem in the from their family, within their family. Still, they are engaged to produce the most of the vegetables and supply to the consumers throughout the country. They have not stopped there. And within that also, they in their village community, we protested before the government. And we are also stating in the states now. So the government has to be reacted. And I don't know why government was waiting so long period. Whether they are expecting that Bharatiya Kisan should take stones in their hand. No, we don't do that. We are imparting pressure before all the agitators. It should not be go in the Mandsaur way. In Mandsaur, last in 2017, 6 farmers were died because of police firing, and 32 vehicles were burned, and everything has happened, and farmers are the loser is the farmer. So we are against the violence. We are against politicization of these issues. But government did not react then, and government is coming with all those suggestions which we are proposing now only. That is our position.
Okay, so just a quick follow-up question on that, Mohiniji, which is that if BKS is supporting the bills, then why are you not showing visible support for these bills?
No, we support these bills with some corrections. The correction must be visible to us. No correction has been coming today. We have stating since June, July. So that is our position. We are not supporting these bills entirely. We are demanding for some minor corrections. The procurement, the identification of the traders, and the payment. These are the issues only. And
Okay.
government did not react for that.
Amanji, would you like to comment on what Mohiniji said?
No, I can quite see Mohiniji's position, and that is what I mentioned in my opening remarks also, that Mohiniji also agrees that this is a major step forward. These reforms were long overdue. And, I was seeing some of the queries which were raised, and these reforms have been in offing for a long, long time. There were wide consultations for several years and years. Uh, with respect to consultations with BKS, I'm sure BKS has given very valuable suggestions. Government has considered it. Government has also responded to it. Other suggestions also, government is willing to consider. Many of these suggestions which Mohini ji is giving, they may have merits also, and we are willing to consider it. But we are agreeable to amendments. We have already said that. Now, any legislation, when it comes, no legislation is perfect. It keeps evolving with times. That does not even mean that legislation has any imperfections or shortcomings, but it can evolve and change with time. We are open to views. We are not and therefore whatever suggestions which are there, government is very much willing to consider even the suggestions which have been made by Mohini ji. But the difficulty is that when these group of farmers are not coming forward and saying that they are agreeable to amendments, then what can the government possibly do? Time and again, the government has said that please tell us which are the specific clauses where you have any grievances which affect you, and we are more than willing to consider it and amend it appropriately. However, till this point in time, not a specific clause of the three acts have yet been pointed out as to how any farmer is going to have any grievance on that account.
Thank you. Sajjanji, please go ahead. The next question.
Yeah, the next question is to Amanji, and it has come from the multiple people. in
Yes,
this group.
please.
So, looking at some of the past incidents, it seems that government of India is failed to educate people, or and that's why anti-India media has been successful in showing India in a bad light. That's the first part of the question. And the second part is the ways the farmers' agitation is portrayed inside and outside of India is one more example of government failure in this area. And do you agree or disagree? Right.
Thank you very much, Sachinji. I appreciate the question which has been put forward by my friends. Let me tell you that, as I just mentioned earlier, that there has to be some basis for these perceptions which are being built. Now, till this point in time, nothing has come out. Those who are for their own motivated reasons, they attempt to go on with a malicious campaign against the government, and go into a propaganda which has no basis. There is, I mean, what can you possibly say? The government has been doing its utmost to say that these are the benefits which are emanating out of these farmer bills. In fact, these bills have, as I mentioned to you, Sachinji, that they have been in offing for a long time, and this has gone through the process. Several governments in the past, UPA government has also taken the same line. It has been in manifesto and agenda of large number of parties. In fact, virtually all of them, none of them were against this. And now when this has been put forward, then some people for their own motivated reasons are trying to carry on with this kind of malicious campaign. But let me tell you, people all over the world and in India also are very they have immense wisdom, and they can certainly figure out what has some basis and some credibility, and what is completely a malicious campaign. I can tell you that government has not, whatever utmost that government could do in terms of communication strategy, in terms of disseminating, and in fact, BJP also had in all the districts of the country, and thereafter to at village and panchayat levels also, BJP has tried to disseminate the correct information with respect to these acts, and as a result of which you see that our farmers are they have so much wisdom and intelligence and understanding that you have not seen any protest anywhere else. And those who are agitating, they have been appealing, nobody has joined them anywhere. uh, so therefore, the government has done its utmost, but certainly there is no basis at all which is pointed out for such manufactured perceptions. And if anybody is going to have any perceptions without any basis, then rest of the entire world, entire country, they know where it is coming from. It is completely politically motivated, and we are more than willing and happy if anybody has any specific question or grievance against the act. I am today willing to respond, and even if the suggestion is found to be valuable and worthy, we are willing to incorporate it also. But they should at least come forward for a meaningful engagement and debate. They are just simply saying that bill should be withdrawn. Without why it should be withdrawn, that question is not being answered.
Thank you, Amanji, for asking. I think there is a one part to it. I think you
Yes,
have addressed it in your notes, previous remarks. I just want to again ask
yes,
as
please.
part of this question. What is
Please.
government of India doing to change this situation? Maybe you can answer that in a couple of points, I think, if you can highlight the key points.
No, first of all, Government of India, as you have seen, is fully engaged with the group of farmers who are agitating. The Government of India has said with a very open mind that we are willing to consider any suggestions for amendments. Those suggestions should be specific to these acts which have been enacted. And therefore, government is fully open to considering anything, and government is doing its utmost to see that farmer interests are addressed. As I mentioned to you, it's an article of faith for this Indian government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And if today also anybody is willing to give any valuable suggestions, we will certainly, I'm sure the government will consider it. I would, uh, I would certainly put that forward for consideration of the government. But Today, there are no specific suggestions which have been put forward. They are only sweeping blanket political statements which are being made by people who have little to do with farming. For instance, people like somebody like Yogendra Yadav. He has taken, he has jumped into this and taken lead. What has he got to do? I mean, he's just a newly turned farmer after the agitations broke out. Look at the sensible voices like Mohini Mohan Mishra ji, and they are the ones who should be convincing our farmer brothers and sisters, and I'm sure they are doing it, because this was a long overdue reform, and just because there is some a nuisance which is sought to be created, large number of other crores and crores of farmers are there in India who have who have lived a life of you know uh, uh, they have been very poor. It's not if lived a life of distress and misery, so to speak, and that needs to be addressed. And this is the first government which took up this agenda of doubling the farmers income. Nobody even attempted it, and the government is working in that direction. But I do not know why political parties and other vested interests, they without any basis are just opposing it just for the heck of it. And it is clear that they are just opposing it for their own political purposes.
Thank you, Amanji. Next question, Deepak ji.
I just follow up on that.
Yes, please.
One of the concerns many of us have who are sitting abroad, like US and other countries, is that India is being projected in a very negative light. On Twitter, I myself have seen even MPs from UK trying to get Boris Johnson to sign to raise the issue with the Prime Minister in Canada. We already saw the Prime Minister do the same thing. So is the Indian government addressing that? Like, is there a strategy or some method in place to counteract the negative publicity that India is getting because of these farm bills?
Well, absolutely. At formal level, the protests have been registered, and the correct picture has been sent out. And let me tell you that Deepak ji mentioned about UK and Canada and a few other countries. I can tell you that when we go to WTO and other international bodies, and Mohini ji would agree that UK or even Canada and these countries, they have been opposing our agricultural subsidies that we give to our farmers. And
Yes.
on the other hand, they are, waxing eloquent about and interfering into, an issue which is completely an internal matter of the country. It has been set right diplomatically, formally also it has been done. And I'm sure informally engagements like this, and with such astute and sharp friends like all of you who are here, you will be certainly able to dispel any kind of misgivings which have been given against these three new acts. And therefore, at formal and informal level, all efforts are being taken. However, the government is doing going through the entire process, doing everything within the realms of law, legality, and maryada, as our Bharatvarsh is known to be.
Right. Thank you. And Mohiniji, question for you.
Yes.
If the farmers from only 2 states are opposing these bills, this question from Vijay Telkekarji, is there a way around to implement these farm reform bills for the rest of India, in your opinion?
The farmers of 2 states, it is not correct. Some farmers of 2 states, many farmers in Punjab, Haryana, and Paschim Pradesh, we have interacted and we are acting in that direction. They are also welcoming all these acts. So some group of farmers, they have some objections, and that can be addressed by the respective states only. And I don't know why government is sticking to this point that what they will not suggest. It's a fixed agenda. They have the fixed agenda. Government should implement and go forward. Why they're standing there? Because the entire country is not with this group of farmers. Entire farming community is welcoming, and with some corrections, Government should go for this correction, this minor cosmetic correction we suggested, and government should move forward. Why government is standing there? I don't understand this. Engaging with these peoples, and the another question what we have asked in the previous question, you are the international arena. We don't understand that, but people in our country, because of the statements from UK and Canada, the people are so reacted in our country. So these unwanted people could not enter into the registration. The registration has been singled out because of their statements in the outside the country. Canada, and people are reacted very negatively for Canada and the UK reactions. So that is a better person for our country and for international atmosphere. You manage it. You people manage it, but it is a betterment for our farming community who objected vehemently about all these statements, and they rejected all these people who are hesitating here. That is the another aspect. Government should move forward. What do we expect?
Okay, thank you.
May I respond to it, Amit ji,
Yes,
quickly?
please.
Okay, thank you, Deepak ji. Now, as my esteemed friend Mohini Mohan Mishra ji has said, that government should move forward. The government has, in response to that, I'd like to just say that government has already implemented these acts, and in fact, some of these states, I do not know what I mean. Punjab has and Rajasthan have come out with their new acts. Mohini ji also knows that,
Yes.
in a way attempting to supersede the central act. So what are they agitating against? If they have any issues, they can go back to their government and figure out as to which are the laws which are applicable to the state of Punjab. So therefore, it is complete. I mean, there is no basis at all to it. Now, that apart, as far as amendments are concerned, now there are large number of people who are engaged in farming in India. Crores and crores of our farmer brothers and sisters are there, and there has to be some kind of predominant agreement on the nature of amendments which are to be made, and there the role of organizations like Bharatiya Kisan Sangh and our volunteers and experts like Mohan Mishra ji is very important, where they can create some kind of consensus among the farming groups as to what those amendments should be. The government has already said that we are more than willing to consider all the amendments, and let us see. The acts are already implemented. Once there is some clarity and unison and consensus as to what those amendments are, then certainly whenever there is a parliament session, there is one in the offing, I'm sure the government will consider it, keeping the picture in mind as to what kind of unanimity or consensus has been built on certain amendments in the act. The government is more than willing to consider it.
Thank you. Sachinji, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So this question is for Amanji.
Yes,
What
please.
can the government of India do to convince farmers about the good intentions of these bills and quickly restore the trust of farmers and end the protest?
First of all, as Mohini ji was also pointing out, the predominant majority, overwhelming majority of all the farmers are in support of these bills, and that should be, that position should be clear for once and all. Secondly, there is a group of farmers from a couple of states who are agitating. You have seen that government is engaging at the topmost level. Our, union cabinet ministers are engaged in discussions, and the government is willing to consider whatever suggestions that come through. We are in a process of engagement. We are doing our utmost. I'm sure we are all hoping that this impasse is resolved sooner than later. And please tell me if there's anything else that government could do. We will be more than willing to do. But at least somebody should tell us what government should do, what more government can possibly do. We will certainly do it. The difficulty is that there is no specific grievance which is being made out of these acts, and there is no specific suggestion or for resolution also which is coming through. So it is just based on it is without any basis, without any perception, And if no engagement, also cogent or meaningful engagement also happens in this manner. We have seen you are all very knowledgeable, esteemed people are attending this. There has to be certain specific shortcomings in the statute in order for government to address it. Now even one shortcoming is not being pointed out, but there is a sweeping statement which is made that no, you withdraw all the legislations. Why? There are large number of crores and crores of farmers who are being benefited. Why should they be deprived if some people without any basis feel that these legislations have to be withdrawn? Why should crores and crores of farmers who have been waiting for past 70 years, now in fact they have been liberated? Why, me and you and anybody, we can practice our profession anywhere in the country and even otherwise, subject to regulations. But farmers, why should they only be restricted to mandis? They are toiling hard for their diligent efforts. They should also get the best possible price. And if anybody wants to go to mandis, we have no difficulty. They can go to mandis. Farmers are only being given an additional avenue. That should not create any problem for anybody.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we have
Any other, I'll be happy to respond.
Yeah, there's one more question for Amanji from Vinodji. What can the government of India do to convince farmers?
I think he asked that question.
Completely.
I'm sorry, it was marked here. There's one more again from Amanji from Ajayji. Why the bill is giving dispute resolution power to SDM? The perception is that SDM can easily be overshadowed by corporates and money power, which seems to be in a lot of the, on Twitter, I've noticed, and in many other mediums, they keep pointing out to the fact that there's some kind of backdoor deal going on with the private sector. So how can this be addressed?
Now, first of all, as far as SDM is concerned, that is the first authority because they are accessible. They are, farmers who are in rural areas. If there are any disputes, after summary proceedings, they can just, there is a conciliation board, in fact, which is constituted, not only simply SDMs. And then there are appeals which would lie to the respective courts of law. The government is certainly very willing to consider it. We are open to it. As far as SDM is concerned and the conciliation board is concerned, it's a conciliation board. So therefore, in order to arbitrate and resolve the dispute quickly so that farmer does not have to go through the vagaries of law and the long legal process, this has been incorporated so that there is a immediate resolution and conciliation of the disputes. And if there are still if it has not been decided properly, then they are free to go to courts of law. The government has said that we are willing to incorporate it, and therefore there is no cause of concern to my assessment. In fact, if farmer unions, they come and say they have a consensus that this is SDM who's the authority, who's the most accessible and who can arbitrate or conciliate on this dispute immediately. If they do not wish this and they want to go through the entire legal process, the government certainly will not have any difficulty in incorporating it. This is for the benefit of farmers so that a long legal process, farmer does not have to go through that, ordeal. It is quite infamous, and therefore, in order to save the farmer from that, this this kind of scheme has been envisaged in the act. It is for the benefit of farmers, for immediate and quick resolution, and still the appeals would lie in courts of law. The government is agreeable to it. We have already stated it. But just one more thing about it was said some private or corporation or something like that. Now, these kind of perceptions and sweeping statements also, there has to be some basis. Please point me a provision where one would say that corporates are benefited also by this. Everywhere, in fact, all through the guiding thread of these three farmer reforms has been farmer welfare, as Mohini Mohan Mishra was also pointing out. Guaranteed payments are envisaged. the land earlier was not protected in that sense. Now it has been protected by the act. Earlier, there could have been one or two avenues where it could have been misconstrued, but now the agreement is only on the produce. There is no question of land even coming into question for any recovery or any other issue. So therefore, farmer can be fully confident that there cannot be anything which will impinge on his land. Now, that is not something which was there earlier. And if they wish to get into a farming contract, it is their choice. If they do not wish to, then it is their choice. But certainly, to make such sweeping statements. So the guiding thread of all these three acts is the welfare interest of the farmers. And certainly, once these acts are, they are implemented now, and you have seen these stories, there have been certain, I have seen, there was an example of very small land holdings in Bihar. They have entered into an agreement with a major rice company, and their incomes have increased fourfold in a span of 3 months. And some payment has already been made in advance also. So these are the kind of examples which are coming through from far areas of Northeast. You have seen Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji himself engaging with large number of farmers directly and asking them, and they have said that from Northeast, somebody was saying that they are into getting into contract with big companies who are paying them in advance over their produce. And he asked that, so is there any danger over your land? So all farmers, they started laughing. No, where is the question of having any danger of over our land in these three statutes? So they are absolutely, absolutely unfounded, these fears. And therefore, all of you will play a very important role in disseminating and articulating the correct view which emanates out of all these three legislations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sachinji, go ahead.
The last question, and to the Mohini ji, and
Yes.
I think what Amanji summarized just now, right? I think what has come from this group, I'll try to summarize that question, is like, how do we there has been so much in the anti-India, right? There has been so much in the news against this bill, but how can we, since how can the BKs, since they are not supporting this this thing in the entirety, but there's still it's a welcoming. How can they increase the the perception around the world, right? And say that they are supporting this bill, even though it's not in entirety, because right now the perception has been opposite, at least in the media.
No, not in media also. Of course, it has been hyped to a limitless extent. But in next 26th January, we are organizing and educating our people in every village committees about the reality, the position of these farm bills. Like that, we are making an program, and all the we came together in Bangalore last 1st, 2nd, and 3rd January. Representations from all the states have come there, and we discussed all these things, and we will educate the farmers. That is one step forward. But government should immediately go forward. What people are worrying and what the entire farming community of our country is worrying, that why government is standing there with the small group of farming community, and from the Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh is not the India, is not entire agriculture. Only 2 crops and very monocropping they are doing. Another aspect is that Punjab is selling their entire wheat and rice to other people. They are procuring wheat from Madhya Pradesh because Madhya Pradesh is less chemical crop. So they are purchasing wheat from Madhya Pradesh for their consumption, and they selling the entire wheat and the rice to the entire country. That is another aspect. So government should go forward, and everybody knows that the leaders who are leading all these stations there, everybody knows them. They have been exposed. So government should do what we are arguing that about this judiciary. As till date, the small farmers are not accessible to the sub collectors. What we are demanding, government should initiate the scope for a consumer type of court for the farmers. All the decision must be within a very limited span of time, and it should be within their district. So that is another issue. And the registration of the a portal registration of the traders, it should have been done immediately. You don't need any amendment in the act. And the government can instruct that they let the traders have a bank guarantee. If somebody is making some fraud and the bank can make the repayment, these are the very simple questions. When there was a distress in our country about pulses, government approached the farmers, he declared a very good price, and within a year, we make our country self-sufficient in pulses. So government procurement and payment, these are the two issues with the farmers. What is the GDP, what is the growth, we don't bother for that. Farmers can feed you sufficiently, but their produce must be procured in multiple access. Maybe it is mandi, outside the mandi, in the Grameen Hearts, or in the organic options, or the tribal options. Many options we want. As we know, there was a fear psychosis when the radio came into our arena. People told that no, this print media will go out. When TV entered, people thought print media and radio will be not there. There was a fear psychosis, but still that print media is there, radio is there, TV is there, internet is there, everybody is there. If all the scopes are there for all of us to access the media, why not we have farmers have access of multiple scope? Not only mandi, not only these arts are outside mandi, we want another scope for the tribal farmers also, for organic farmers also. What about government is not government can communicate to the farmers? There was a 2,000 crore corpus fund allocation in the last budget of late Arun Jaitley ji for 22,000 Grameen Hearts. But we want that scope also, because small farmers, they went to the hearts, they sell their produce, they purchase their inputs there, and traders may come there and contact all 50, 60, 100 farmers and collect their goods, and they go away. And that is a very easy access. So government should proceed in that direction. Government should leave all these things then and there.
Okay, thank you, Mohini ji. I'll pass it on to Amit ji.
Respond, Sachin ji, to some of the suggestions which have been made by Mohini ji. Now, first of all, he would also agree that now the payment in a short span of time, in outer limit of 3 days, is guaranteed under the new act, which was not there. It's a big way forward. And he was talking about payment to farmers. As far as procurement is concerned, we've already said that even MSP and it is by way of an executive order. It's still, if it is required, the government is willing to consider it and put it, but they have not been coming forward. That apart, e-mandis are already working, as Mohiniji would know. And as the suggestion of Kisan Court, the government has already said that we have no difficulty at all if if farmers want to have their dispute redressal mechanism in that manner, the government has no difficulty to addressing that. But another question which was put forward, Mohini ji said that why government is not moving forward. I responded also saying that the laws are already implemented. Now, government certainly has to, government has to factor in all kinds of views and all kinds of opinions and dynamics, and you will all understand. And then government has to move in that direction. I'm sure the government is doing that, and we just hope that everybody sees that these are our farmers have not exactly led a very spectacular life. Their incomes, they need to be enhanced and increased. It's a question of their dignity. It's a question of their livelihood. And these farming reforms have been long overdue. There has been a complete unanimity before all the political and political disputes, they broke out, and without any basis people started opposing. Everybody was in favor of this. Now why all of a sudden they are opposing it just because they see that there is an opportunity to show the Indian government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in a poor light, and to have some distortions and misconceptions about it. They are jumping and coming into that bandwagon. That is very clear to everybody, and therefore we should all be vocally supporting these bills, and I'm sure this will go a long way towards enhancing farmer incomes and giving them the dignity that they so richly deserve.
Dhanyawad both the esteemed speakers, Manya Mohini ji and Aman ji. It was very
Dhanyawad Amit bhai, and thank you everyone at Bharatiya Vichar Manch. It has been a real pleasure, interacting with all of you, and look forward to seeing all of you in LA maybe this year.
Yes. So, but we have lots of prominent community leaders here, including Honorable Mayor Naresh Solanki of City of Cerritos is here. We have
Namaskar Naresh ji.
Namaste Aman ji, kaise ho?
Badhiya, and it's a matter of pride for us that you are presiding in city of Los Angeles as the elected mayor of that city. And Naresh ji, I must share that he's a very good friend. I have had occasion to meet him also in Los Angeles many times, and I can tell you, Naresh ji, that all of us here are very proud of your remarkable achievement there, and certainly, all the Pravasi Bharatis there was Pravasi Bharati Divas just 2 days back, and Prime Minister engaged with everybody. So I also express my greetings on that occasion, and all my good wishes to all of you who have joined in from different parts of the world. And you are all making your country proud. You're all making India proud. Thank you very much.
So quickly, let me mention few leaders are here. They are Vijay Telkekar ji, Vimal Patel ji, Surendra Mehta ji, Rangesh Gadasali ji, Naveen Mehta ji, Amrit Nehru ji, Mohan Dadlani ji, Chandru Bramra ji, and Jasu Patel ji. Dhanyawad all, and the rest of the volunteers and attendees.
My namaskar to everybody. Amit ji, Chandru Bhamra ji is there, Jashubai Patel ji is there.
Sure.
And I know the kind of remarkable work that you have been doing in the times of pandemic. And Amit ji, you yourself also, I have learned that large number of and all, I think all those who are here today, you have all been deeply involved in helping our community in the times of pandemic. So it's a great pleasure to be there in such esteemed company. Thank you.
So Dhanyawad all on behalf of Bharatiya Vichar Manch. Once again, Dhanyawad Mohini ji, Dhanyawad Aman ji.
Thank you.
Dhanyawad all. We'll see you again.
Thank you Amit bhai.
Thank you.
Subhratri.
Dhanyawad.
Namaste.